Here are the main changes that you need to be aware of with the new Renters' Rights Bill that the Labour government have just brought in. So why has this bill been brought in the first place? Well, simply it's to help tenants who are struggling with all sorts of issues at the moment. You know, you've got massive upfront costs when it comes to renting a house. You've got landlords hiking up the rent for no reason. You've got no fault evictions and people being discriminated against if they've got pets, kids, or even on benefits. And all of this is likely to change with the new Renters' Rights Bill that's coming into force, as firstly, there will now be no more no fault evictions. And so if the landlord wants their property back from the tenant, they have to give a legally valid reason as to why they want the property back. They can't just boot you out if you are a tenant. Secondly, changes to fixed term contracts, as in the past, it's often been the case that tenants have been locked into a 6 or 12-month contract, and then that really limits their options when it comes to either renewing the tenancy or then moving out of the property. As you know, it's really tough if you have to lock in for a 12-month period. You know, you have no idea what kind of circumstances you're going to be in for the rest of that year. And so from now on, tenancies will just be on a rolling contract, and so all you'll need to do is just give 2 months notice as a tenant, and then you'll be able to leave the property. Then the next major change is that there'll be no more bidding wars when it comes to renting a property, as particularly in really popular places in the likes of London and other big cities, often it's been the case that you have just a swarm of people wanting to rent a particular property, and then although it might be listed for say £1,000 a month, then the landlord or the estate agent is able to orchestrate an essential bidding war between those people who want to rent the property, and often the final rent can be a lot more than what was originally offered. And so this will be completely ended, and also there's no ability now for landlords to hike the rent up more than once a year. Rent increases are capped to just once annually. And also when it comes to paying rent up front, in the past sometimes landlords have requested 6 months rent even up front, but now that will be illegal essentially, as the maximum amount a landlord can ask for up front is just 1 month's rent. And then you've got the discrimination piece, as now landlords can't discriminate against tenants just because they have kids or on benefits. That can't be any kind of consideration at all. And then lastly, the major big change is around pets, as in the past a lot of landlords have just had a blanket no pets when it comes to tenants renting their properties from them. But now tenants have the legal right to request that they can have a pet in their property. Obviously, this doesn't mean that the request will necessarily be granted, but the landlord's basically got to have a pretty good reason as to why the tenant can't have a pet with them. So what do we think? Do we think that these changes are all very positive and this is a great move from the Labour government, or are they not doing enough and more protection should be now put in place for tenants?